To me, this face says, I did not expect that voice to come out of that thing. I won one of the least intimidating Precure villains ever.
We opened this week's episode with a recap of the last one set to tunes vaguely sounding like the X-Files theme. Huh, good taste, Hayashi. Following this, we then got something I thought we'd never see again, the actual opening animation. Complete with the full villain roster in this one shot. Seriously, it feels like it's been ages. Anyway, the main part of the episode opened with the Precure surveying the damage done to Lala's ship as a result of their crash. Most prominent was the bow on top of the ship.
Wait, I thought that was just a decoration they added onto Lala's original ship. Why is there tech inside of it?
Okay, looking back at the ship's original design, it did seem to have an antenna that resembled Lala's own appendage. So was that bow replacing that? Because they really didn't play it up as that in the 7th episode. Well anyway, Prunes pointed out how their crash more than likely attracted some unwanted attention, so they had to act fast.
So they had the ability to turn the ship into a capsule like the ones from Dragon Ball. Why haven't they used that up until now?
I mean, maybe they could retcon it in to say that Lala used this function off-screen. It might explain why Mr. Kaguya hadn't found their ship yet, and why it took Tenjo a while to find their hiding spot, but going by Elena's reaction here, this is at least the first time the Earthlings have seen this function, and
Don't know, I've gone cross-eyed.
Also, apparently Prunes' saucer used that same technology.
Did Murayama just not leave enough notes behind while he went off to write Miracle Universe?
Sure enough, Mr. Kaguya and his men in orange arrived, forcing the Precure to seek a hiding spot. Luckily for them, the observatory was nearby. It was closed for the day, but I guess Rio hadn't locked up yet, and they managed to sneak in. No time for explanations though, as Mr. Kaguya had arrived in a very Gendo Ikari fashion. The Precure hastily hid, and just going by their body language, Ryo knew they were in trouble, so he tried to hide them from Gendo. He told them that the observatory had been closed for the day, thus no one else had come in. However, Mr. Kaguya was not so easily deceived as he took quick notice of the Precure's footprints. He slowly made his way into the next room until...
Thank you, Plot Convenient Extra, for coming in the last minute! Seriously, what was stopping Mr. Kaguya from just taking a quick peek around the corner when it's obvious Ryo is lying?
After he left, the Precure filled Ryo in, and he agreed to keep their secret safe. Seriously, this old dude really is just Santa Claus. He even took the time to consult a depressed Hikaru in this really good scene that's starting to sell me on Hikaru.
I think another thing that was preventing me from completely getting on board with Hikaru's character was Emi Naruse's performance.
To be fair, this is one of Naruse's first major roles, and she just hasn't really been given the opportunity to show off her stuff. Hikaru has been mostly just an energetic loudmouth with a few scattered, quieter moments here and there.
This episode, however, we actually get to see some actual range out of her, so good job there.
Anyway, Hikaru admitted to her mistakes, like how she tried to look for the Southern Cross, not even realizing how the universe's scale exceeded all of her imaginations. And of course, it was this lack of foresight that had led them to their current situation. Ryo tried to comfort her by posturing that maybe the Southern Cross had been beckoning her like the explorers of the past. According to him, the explorers had used the Southern Cross not just as a guiding point, but also as a symbol to look towards as they imagined what lied beyond the horizon, not unlike what Hikaru was doing right now.
Wow, that's a great story, Ryo. Say, what did those explorers do once they discovered those new lands? Why are you walking away?
Elsewhere, the villains had arrived on Earth looking for the Precure. Iwan dipped the Tauros pin in her dark ink, affecting the princess it was linked with. It didn't make her disappear again, but since it still had elements of an awakened star pen, she believed it had more functionality than a normal dark pen. Specifically, she wanted to see if she could use it on as many as 3 catalysts like her teammates.
Bonkinyan is actually familiar with the one-winged angel trope and the fact that those guys are usually swiftly defeated after taking on those forms. I call dibs on the cat!
With that, Iwan stood in for Bakenyan, and okay, to be fair, this wasn't really a one-winged angel form, and something more along the lines of the black balls from Smile. Still, as we'll later see, Bakenyan made the wisest choice possible. Anyway, using their better designed monster of the week, the villains wreaked havoc, starting by attacking Mr. Kaguya's team. Picking up her Taurus pen signal, Hikaru headed out along with the rest of her team. Realizing that Mr. Kaguya was in danger, they made haste as the sun began to set. Proots managed to get an unconscious Mr. Kaguya to safety, giving the Precure free range to transform and fight. Thus, we got one of the rare nighttime, or at least twilight fights of the franchise, and aside from some reused animation, it looked quite good. Honestly, I think it's just nice to see a different kind of lighting than the usual fare. And unsurprisingly, even with the power of 3 star pen attacks, the combined force of the 3 generals was too much for the Precure. Hikaru tried to go it alone, to even less success, though she did at least get some backstory regarding them. Apparently, they all seem to hail from some dark and forgotten parts of the universe. In particular, Kapar's world was taken away from him by some unspecified entity. With all of that in mind, they point out how Hikaru knew nothing about the scope of the universe, as she likely lacked even the imagination to comprehend it.
And to be fair, they're not completely wrong.
The thing that drives Hikaru is more of a fascination with the universe than anything else. Sure, she imagined these faraway worlds, but she lacked the foresight to see beyond her own perceptions. And this led to the mistakes that placed her in her current situation. She had failed to think her actions through and was now suffering the consequences.
Still, this is the episode where she is going to learn the importance of that through her own effort. Guys, you do realize this is Hikaru's episode. You really should just let her do her own thing.
Yeah, I'm not all that hot on this bit of Hikaru's teammates telling her how great her imagination was in order to give her a second wind.
I'm not necessarily saying I dislike this scene, as it is a good moment for the Precure as a team. I'm just saying they're kind of skimming around the heart of the issue that is Hikaru's lack of foresight.
Anyway, Hikaru did at least admit she didn't fully understand what lied beyond the stars in our sky, but that didn't affect her undying love for all of it. Thus, she awakened a new power, much to the irritation of the Note Raiders' higher power, who had awakened just because of the presence of it. This new power was the Twinkle Sticks, now available for the low price of only 3,403 yen. Anyway, the resulting new team attack was very impressive for the first of this season. With the villains defeated, Hikaru managed to retrieve her pen and save the Tauros princess. She almost took the Ares pen too, until my new favorite feline arrived.
Feel free to comment below on who you feel is best husbando, because me, I am just so torn.
The Precure demorphed, but didn't walk away fast enough before Mr. Kaguya found them. He started to put 2 and 2 together, but the episode ended with the arrival of a mysterious figure, whom, going by the next episode preview, was the director, named after the guy who will likely hammer the final nail into the coffin of the Star Wars franchise. Seriously, dude, are you so deprived of ideas that you have to bring Palpatine back from the dead?
Oh boy, a lot happened this week, and while it was all quite good, it wasn't exactly the follow-up I was expecting last week, but maybe that's just me.
First things first, I have to point out that this was another great episode for the villains. Yeah, obviously they didn't win, but we actually got to learn a little bit more about them, like their backstories and motivations. Standout amongst these were Bakinyan. Someone who started off as a satellite character to I-1 has in the span of just 2 episodes now at least comes off as the third in command after Gao Ogre, if not on the same level. Likewise, they managed to build up Ryotaro as a strong ally to the Precure. His talk with Hikaru is one of my new favorite scenes of this series. I mean, putting aside what those explorers did once they found those new lands, it was a very inspiring talk that should become a huge turning point for Hikaru. Though on that note, I'm concerned they didn't go all in with this arc for her. I mean, it wasn't bad in a way, as Hikaru did acknowledge her mistakes, which puts her far above others. But at the same time, I don't know, maybe I'm just becoming jaded to this bit of the teams encouraging their leaders to stand up and try again. I'm not even completely sure what they're talking about with all this imagination talk when discussing how Hikaru changed their lives. In situations like Lala's, I think it was more about giving them hope than just her imagination. Still, we do have at least 3 cores worth of episodes left, so there's still a lot of room for Hikaru's character to develop. I don't know if she'll become one of my favorite pinks, but right now she is on the right track. So other than that, and some details that really should have been ironed out in previous episodes, this was quite a good episode. While it's physically impossible for the show to reach the full scope of it, let's hope that at least it can expand as far out into the universe as it can.
As I mentioned last week, I'm going to take another short break next week over the Easter weekend to attend a con on the mainland. I will be back home Monday afternoon, so I'll try to get episode 12's review up Tuesday night or Wednesday morning at the latest. I just hope you guys can forgive all of these delays, and until then though, farewell for now my friends, and... these things really do make traveling around a lot easier.